And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us. And one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it. And that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon Wright. Tonight's episode, we're going to be joined by David and by my friend Ed. Both have seen something strange in the skies. Ed's was fairly recently. Looking forward to getting them on to talk about it. Before we bring them on, though, if you've ever had an experience and you'd like to be on an episode of Tinfoil Tales, you can send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to the website, www.tinfoiltales.com. You can go to the contact section. Both ways will get your message to me, so make sure to reach out and we'll get something scheduled for a future episode. If you want to help the podcast out, continue to share it around. Word of mouth is one of the best ways of helping get exposure to the podcast. You can leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to the podcast at. That helps with the rankings. If you want to help the podcast financially, you can join the Patreon. You get access to ad-free content plus early access to all the episodes right after I get an episode recorded and edited. Post it up on the Patreon so it could be up there several weeks before it gets released publicly. It's only $1.99 a month. It's worth checking out. Make sure to follow us on social media. You can reach out to me that way too if you're interested. I think now we're going to go ahead and bring David on. We'll talk with him and then we'll jump over to the conversation with Ed. Hope you enjoy what we're going to talk about. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to take the time to welcome my guest today, David. Thanks for coming on here and talking with me.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure's mine. A little bit about yourself.
I'm going on 35 years old, born and raised in St. Paul. Moved down to Rochester a few years ago. Got a house, a bunch of cats, and some kids, That's about it.
Yeah, that's sounds about how most people are.
Yeah, heck yeah.
But no, you'd messaged me or you'd comment or whatever talking about some experiences you had. So
yeah,
share some of that.
Sure. I have a few of them. So I'm going to start a couple when I was a kid. They're kind of, they're real quick. One was, and they were just like little white orbs. I was in my backyard looking at the sky, and this whipped past. So I'm not sure if they were actual UFOs or like maybe birds that I just happened to catch a glimpse of. But it was really strange because, you can usually tell the difference between like a bird in the sky and something that's
Something else.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
And then another one was something similar, but it was we're at the schoolyard behind the house I was living at, and flying a kite. So we're looking at the sky, and there's a bunch of things like that, like just doing weird patterns in the sky and things. And I thought that was really odd. Everybody was out there like flying kites and playing in the field, and everybody was looking at it. So, and this was before we had these awesome cell phone cameras and stuff. So, and we didn't even have a cell phone back then.
No.
So that one was a little weird, and I've always been interested in this kind of thing. So now the next two here, one is not necessarily an object, but it was just a weird thing. It happened in it was in the winter, and it had to be like 2010 or 11. And my first apartment, and I had my family over, and we're sitting there, I'm watching TV, My sister's cooking in the kitchen. And then all of a sudden, the lights start flickering. The TV starts to go in and out. And we looking outside on the balcony, and everybody's lights are doing that. And the sky is like green and blue and red. It's like, I think we got hit by like a solar flare or something, but like I didn't hear anything about it on the news. It was just really crazy.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. And my sister was like, we're looking out the window. She's like, "Are we gonna die?" It was like, it was funny. It was like, no, we're not gonna die. But it was good. Now, no, this next story was crazy. It happened when I was young, a little bit younger. I was like 18 when this happened. And it was with a couple buddies, and we're going down this road in St. Paul that goes along the river outside of downtown. And we're going to another friend's house. And as we're going past there's an airport that's right there alongside the river. And we see this thing. We can't really tell what it is, right? It's just sitting on above the bank of the river as we're driving. Like, we're all looking like, what is that? There's no downwash. There's just lights, like little red lights on it. And it looked like, because it had one on top of it too. So it was like 4 red lights, 3 on the bottom, 1 on top. And it was like cloaked or something. We couldn't see. It was like jet black, and there was no sound, no backwash or nothing. So we drove past it, and I couldn't find a place to pull off because I wanted to stop and look at this thing. So we just kept going, and we took the same road on the way back. And this is when it gets weird, because the thing was gone, but in place of it was a tugboat with a freaking spotlight on it, and it was pointed down at the water. So that there was definitely something sitting right there.
Yeah, it's strange that it was on the water too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, and I always had a weird thing of, I think there's something underneath the St. Paul airport, some weird thing like that. I don't know. I have no proof or anything. It's just speculation, but
I haven't
that thing
heard
was
much.
weird, man.
I haven't really heard anything about the St. Paul airport. What is some of the weird things that go on there?
But well, I mean, it's just because it's right downtown. It's kind of, and it's like, it's just weird. And then like that thing we saw that day, and it's just, you always see planes coming in and out, but it's just so weird.
Yeah. I know they say the Denver airport, the new one, I think it is, has a lot of weird stuff going on there, a lot of weird imagery and
Oh yeah, heck yeah, man. The mural, and then they have that big like horse statue that's like with red eyes and shit. It's crazy.
yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff when it comes to that. I've actually wanted to do an episode kind of dedicated just to that airport, but I haven't done it yet.
No, yeah, that's definitely a whole episode's worth of things that go on in that airport, and the speculations and the supposed theories.
Mm-hmm. You ever had anything else strange that have happened that you've looked back at and as you've gotten older and think it could have been some sort of weird, strange activity that you weren't aware of at the time?
No, nothing that I can really think of as far as like, well, with St. Paul Airport or anything like that. And those are like the main experience that, I always see weird things in the sky, but you can never really tell, especially because it's like usually a blinking light, and most of the time it's like, well, that's a plane.
I feel like if there's a light blinking on it, it's not anything out of the ordinary. I feel like if it's something, you see something moving, but you don't see any like blinking red or green lights, then it's obviously not a normal plane. Because I feel like
Right,
every aviation regulation has to have the green and red blinking lights on it. So if you're
right,
seeing
yeah.
something solid moving, but it doesn't have a light, then clearly it's not from, at least within regulation. It could be a secret craft from us, or it could be something completely different.
Right. And that's what, I considered that with that thing off the that was hovering above the water there on the river, like that could have been, maybe there's testing some secret drone or something back then.
No.
I don't know, it was just weird. And just to see the tugboat with the spotlight on, that was that solidified it for me and my buddies at the time, that there was definitely something there that we saw, but we couldn't distinguish or identify.
I wonder if whatever that thing was looking at, that's why the tugboat come out there either looking for it or looking for whatever that thing was looking for. Because if it was like a secret drone, they could have had something down there that they were searching for.
All right. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Definitely. Heck
But
yeah.
there's a lot of weird things that go on, and it's hard to explain. But I try to keep an open mind anymore. I used to be pretty skeptical about a lot of things, but there's a lot of stuff that the further you dig into it, the more you're either going to reject it or be open to it. And I've tended to become more open minded when it comes to certain things just because there's a lot of weird shit out there.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah, man. And like like I said, I've always been interested in this, but I've kept an open mind, but always be skeptic about things.
Yeah.
At least, just have an open mind because, we don't know what the hell is going on. There's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of weird shit that no one's explaining, or we're all just sitting here speculating on what is going on and what these things might be.
How do you feel about the new disclosures going on?
I think you know, the funny thing about that is like, all this, they basically said that, yeah, there's things like this and there's, non-human entities, and no one cares. No one seems to care about it. And I've been following, like, I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. Greer, but this man has been the forefront about this for a long time. And he's like, he used to be an ER doctor and all this. So he's credible in all these things. But yeah,
Yeah.
he
No,
said that there's aliens. So
I've heard some mixed reviews with this guy. Some people thought he was a grifter. Some others think he's legit. I've not done any sort of research on him personally. I've watched his documentary. I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head. And to be honest, I was kind of bored by it.
yeah, yeah, that's understandable. It's a lot of information to get through, and like the way that he presents it is more like trying to be scientific and
No, I
technical.
understand what he's trying to do and appreciate the scientific fact behind it, but if I remember right, don't they try to communicate with the crafts or whatever they're seeing up there? They send like signals to them, like lights or whatever, lasers and stuff, and try and see if they get like responses. The
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
bat
So he does.
the
He does like retreats, he calls them, and like they'll go out and they'll meditate and they'll like try to communicate telepathically with these, and he says they come in and stuff. And from some of the footage I've seen, it seemed legit to me, at least. But I'm into that kind of like metaphysical type thing, so that's in my wheelhouse.
I interviewed a lady recently that said the same thing that she was trying to communicate with them. She'd flash lights at them, shoot a laser pointer at them, and they actually would like respond. One come back towards them and they disappeared. Like I find that stuff interesting, but I was also thinking in the back of my head, what happens if you start shooting a laser pointer at this thing and you end up triggering something and it ends up shooting a laser back at you, but an actual real on laser?
All right, yeah, man, yeah, I'm sure they have far advanced laser technology than we can even comprehend.
Well, I seen something the other day talking about these laser weapons that have been announced or whatever. I thought it was the UK. I don't know if it was a true story or not because who can believe anything you see on the internet?
All
But
right, yeah.
this advanced laser space technology they have, the weapons or whatever, is like, oh, it kind of goes back to that conspiracy realm where some of these people think some of these fires and stuff are created by these laser things out in space floating around.
Oh, the directed energy weapons, yeah,
Yeah, the
right.
direct energy weapons.
Mounted on satellites, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's too far from the truth, honestly. Some of these, I don't know if you've dug into any of those wildfires, but it was really weird, like totally melted metal cars, and then like a tree next to it's fine. Like it's weird. There's some weird things. I'm not saying that it was a directed energy weapon, but a lot of the weird circumstances with that whole situation.
There was a rumor floating around that anything that had blue on it, like a blue tarp painted blue, whatever, anything blue didn't get touched. And
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Heard
so,
about that as well.
so it seems strange to me that everything that wasn't blue was burnt. So I don't know if that's a energy weapon or what it is, but I don't know if fires that pick and choose the directions they go and only target certain things not that aren't blue. That's the whole. Again, I wasn't there. I haven't witnessed it. This is just stuff I've seen or heard. So it's like
Right. Yep.
take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly all you can do with these things nowadays. You know, you gotta sift through it and figure out what's the truth and what's not. And it's really hard nowadays, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that it's hard to decipher if it's true or not, but that's kind of what this show's about. I dabble into a lot of things. So,
Heck yeah.
well, is there anything else you'd like to discuss or?
But I mean, nothing I can really think of off the top of my head right here.
Okay. Well, no, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your experiences with me, stuff you've seen.
Oh, heck yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. It was good talking about it and stuff. You know, I really done this kind of forum like this and talked about my experiences. So, I mean, it's only like my close friends and family that know about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people are afraid to come forward just because of the stigma that's with it, but I'm trying to give a platform for everyone to not have to worry about it
Right?
because
Heck yeah.
I know how it feels to have some stuff go on and people laugh at it, think you're crazy. So that's not what I'm about. Trying to get rid of that stigma for people.
That's good, man. We need more of that nowadays because, yeah, the more if people are comfortable to talk about it, then we'll get more information. That's what we need.
Yeah. Well, David, I appreciate it and hope you have a good day.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for having me again, man. You have a good day as well.
Yep, you too. Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
I'd like to take the time to welcome back Ed, my friend. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Ed was the first guest that ever appeared on Tinfoil Tales. So all the way back at episode 1 when we talked about weather control. And then
Yes.
and then the bonus episode of band life, which it's funny because that episode is what led us to start the other podcast. Ed and I have a podcast together called Dark Side of the Scene, and we interview bands and musicians. Not about the weird stuff we talk about on here, but just the struggles that musicians go through.
The struggles of dealing with actual humans and not paranormal and, cryptids. I don't know what's worse.
Sometimes I'd rather deal with a Bigfoot than a drummer.
Drummer or bass player.
I wonder if Bigfoot could be a drummer.
Well, they're pretty elusive, just like bass players are. But
Yeah.
haha.
Well, for the listeners out there, you had a recent sighting of something, and I figured have you come on here and talk about it.
I do actually, and it's not like I came on the show and said, "Hey, I've been on here before, so I'm gonna make something up." No, I actually you know, it happened on a Friday, so I Uber on the side. Times are tough. We all know the struggle, whatever. And I actually enjoy it sometimes. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I had the same job for like 20 something years. And it's like, this is kind of cool. Every day is an adventure every time I go in there because I never know where I'm going to be. So what I'm getting at is, am I supposed to say locations?
Yeah, that's
Like,
fine.
okay. So if you're familiar with the show, we're from like Indiana. I'm from Northern Indiana. He's like middle. All right. So I live like in a town. I won't say my town, but like we'll just say Elkhart because I live close to Elkhart because Elkhart's embarrassing. But it was like one of those. I wish I didn't remember the exact date, but I just remember it specifically being kind of like foggy in the sky. We're like, let's say if you saw like a big high tower of light, it would take a lot for it to penetrate because it was that dense. But you could kind of see something, and usually that kind of light bounces off fog, and it looks like more like mysterious and almost like sinister. It's just a regular light tower. So, with that being said, I just happened to get somebody to pick up in Osceola area, and in that area, there's a lot of train tracks facing one of the main roads that'll take you to Mishawaka or whatever. So I pick up this guy at like I guess they're like apartments. They're like only 1-story apartments because I specifically remember this picking up this person. I'm not gonna say his name, but I picked him up before, dropped him off at work, and I pull up. Well, before I pull up, I just like kind of saw like what I thought was lightning in the sky, right? But it not. I don't think it really rained. I'm not really sure. And so I'm like, oh, it was so bright, you know. And then I pull up and I wait for him, and then all of a sudden I'm staring at the sky, seeing if I could see that lightning. But towards the tracks in the sky, it like bursted, like something exploded in the sky, right? And my dumb ass, I should have recorded it. That was so the immediate thing is you want to see for your own self what's in front of you, right? Like you don't want to stop and record it. You just want to actually see what's going on. So it happened several times, just this burst explosion of light. And there was no, it looked like fireworks in the sky, right? And there wasn't any lightning. There was no, some people could have said, what if it's lightning? I'm like, lightning doesn't have like multiple colors, right? And you didn't hear thunder's boom like you would normally, like thunder or a firework for that matter. I mean, who the hell's lighting off fireworks at like 10 p.m. on a Friday in dense fog? So I watched it happen again, and then the guy I was picking up, like mind you, I got out of my car and stared at it in the sky, and then he was approaching my car. I go, "How's it going, sir?" He's like, "How's it going, man?" I'm like, "You ever seen something like that in the sky?" He's like, "What?" And it happened right then. He's like, "Oh, he said he'd never seen anything like that either." And mind you, like he's lived there, so it's not like it's a regular occurrence. So we got in the car and took off, and we were both kind of like, "What the hell?" So I ended up dropping this guy off. Well, this is even funnier. Not that it has anything to do with anything. He wanted me to take him to the liquor store, and then he had me drop him off at Five Below. And like Five Below it's like 10, almost 11. And he wanted me to drop him off at Five Below, and the store's obviously closed. So I dropped him off and I left. I'm like, I don't know what happened to him after that. So that's got nothing to do with anything. I just found that kind of funny too. But I told him that, my nights, I had a smile on my face. I'm like, what the hell did I just see? So, and nobody else really reported anything about seeing it. I asked a couple people. Obviously, who's going to be on a night like that? Who's actually going to be outside staring at the sky when it's foggy and gross? It's literally like not the best weather. I mean, this was like, damn, I wish I remember the timeline.
I think it was around the beginning of December.
Yeah, I feel like that. I mean, it was getting cold because we had a pretty much a warm winter. Well, for the most part, most of it. So, yeah, I just remember just being pretty happy that I saw something I could not explain and telling people about that. And my father-in-law was like, "Well, if you were like facing the direction toward the tracks, what if it was like that private airport?" I'm like, I don't really know. Like this is a tiny airport, tiny. Like I think they do like flying lessons, so I don't really think like anybody or amateur pilots would be fucking around at like 10 p.m. trying to light the sky up with like a burst of insane colors. And it was just like it was almost like watching like CGI when they're just like lighting up the sky, like that kind of shit you'd see in a Marvel movie.
Project Bluebeam.
Maybe I don't know. It was just so weird. Like it just happened to. I don't know if like it was just my time to see that. Like the coincidence was really strange. I mean, I just happened to be that going that direction, and my car was facing that direction as I waited for the guy to get my car. But you know, I really, I really regret not filming it, even though like I had my phone on my little clip thing, and I had the GPS map ready to take my customer to his spot via Uber. So
your timeline is around the same time I saw those two weird things here. If you remember, the one was around right before Thanksgiving. It was that orange glowing. I thought it looked like a flare. It was out behind my house, out in the field.
Mm.
It was above that. And then I think I actually tried to send you the video, but it doesn't actually show up on the video when you send it, which is weird. But you can see it
Right.
on my phone. The thing that was out in front of the house, it looked like Elon's, not Stargate, whatever it's called, Starlink.
Right.
And but that's not what it was. And then you can see it just disappears, like it fades away. But there was multiple of them, and they were almost like in a line, and then they just disappeared. That was the first week of December, and I think yours was like a day or two later.
Yeah.
So
Like
it's
basic.
strange
Yeah.
that they all happened within like a couple weeks of each other.
Yeah. This was facing south because I know that for a fact. And like, I know like there's also like, what is that fucking railroad company called that we have up here? Why can't I think of it?
There's CCX and Norfolk Southern.
I think Norfolk Southern is like because it's not really like it's like where a lot of the train tracks meet, and the workers work there.
The depot.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think like there would be anything. It's not like they have big cranes, as far as I know. They don't have cranes that would be like, well,
They,
regardless, it would
they
not make
wouldn't have anything that'd be that high in the sky.
or would light it to that degree. Like it was just like a bursting lights. Like I, yeah, and again, like it was the fog was so dense that it just made it more sinister and bigger. Maybe I don't know. I just know whatever it was super bright to penetrate enough fog, and nobody else saw it, which sucks. And I was gonna say like earlier, like if anybody saw it, they probably would have said, "Oh, it's Starlink." I'm like, it was way too dense
It
to even
wouldn't have
have.
been Starlink because
No,
Starlink isn't bright like that.
no, and
Starlink looks literally like little lights just
right.
floating. They're not. It's not going to make the sky bright. It's not anything that close. Anything bright like that had to have been either, like you said, some sort of like heat lightning, which it wouldn't have been hot in December, and it could have been a plane, but I don't know. The only other thing I could think of is with it being flash, like a
Yeah,
light or whatever. I was thinking like maybe lights from a like a cop car or a fire truck or something like that.
no, it it wouldn't have been that would more ground level. This was like up in the sky, more like just. I mean, like I said, my witness never seen anything like it either. Not that I could ask him to be on the show because I don't really know him, but like I was just happy somebody else saw it and I was not crazy. That's probably what made me happier that he saw it and he was like visibly shocked too. Like, oh, man, maybe that's why I gotta go to the liquor store. End times are coming. I don't know, but like, I don't know. Like that was
What
with everything going on. That made me pretty happy to see that, whatever the hell it was.
what color did you say they were?
It was like orange and bluish color. Like I guess you would describe it almost as like, like dry lightning, right? Isn't that what we said earlier?
Heat lightning.
Heat lightning in a way, but like it was almost felt like a firework went off and then all the dense fog had made it more like internally combusting.
And so there is the possibility someone could have just been a jackass and shot a firework off, but you would have
You,
probably heard something.
you would have heard that. And they kept going off constantly for and about 10:30 ish before 11. And like, if anybody has seen that and seen it in Indiana, like, well, I don't know if everybody who listens to this from Indiana, like, I don't know of other people reporting that kind of thing, but it just seemed very strange. That's all I could really elaborate. And I look in the sky all the time to see if it'll ever happen again. But yeah.
When you see one thing, it makes you start looking more again for stuff. That's the eye-opening.
Like, sir, your photo that you have for your screen saver here.
Mm-hmm.
The sky looked like what's at the bottom.
The foggy light.
Yes, that shit. And I'm not saying that because I just saw it and I'm like, oh, I'll just make up a story. No, I saw what I saw. I mean, it looked like that, but just flashing. You can see it's like multicolored. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it fucking looked like. And for the life of me, nobody else has seen it. If I posted about it, again, they'll probably just say it was, you know, Space Link, whatever, Starlink. And
It
I don't want to
wouldn't.
hear.
You can trace where that thing is, and I don't know. I know what I saw was not
Right.
because it wasn't in the area, and I've thought what I've seen were flares, but flares don't sit still and just go up in the air then disappear. They'd be coming downward.
Yeah.
And then whatever was out front, there was multiple of them, and I wasn't the only one that's seen them. My entire family's seen them. And
Right.
the first one, for whatever reason, in the backyard, I was an idiot and made them come look at it, but never once did I think to try and record it. And I even
Same.
get like criticizing other people. They're like, "Oh, I seen a UFO. Did you try and record it?" Well, no, I didn't think about it. Well, that's dumb. And I did the same damn thing.
Well,
Like my brain didn't even process. I should probably record this.
no, because you're trying to like make sense out of it firsthand before you sound crazy and grab your phone and be like, "Oh, I need to record this now." But if it's usually instinct to like figure it out yourself before you and try to make sense out of it before you record something stupid.
And then the
That's it.
second one, we were driving back home and we were on the road, and I gave my phone to my wife and told her to start recording it because I'd already remembered I didn't record the one out back. So when I saw this one like a couple days later, I was like, record it. I'd already wanted to record it. And again, you can see it if you ever look on my phone, but if I try and send the video to people for whatever reason, the quality gets shot and then you don't see it.
Hmm.
It's kind of strange that I can watch the video right now on my phone and I can see it, but the moment I try and send it to someone, it doesn't work. So I guess if I ever seen people in real life, they want to ask about this video, here's the video. You can see it on my phone. For
You
whatever
could like,
reason, the
yeah,
quality gets ruined.
you could try messing with the picture saturation settings. Like you can edit video, the
I
little
might just
editor.
try and send the video itself to my computer and
Right.
edit it on there. It's like when I try to edit it on my phone, it makes it go away. I don't know why. But if you
Mm.
just watch it, you can see it. It's strange.
Huh.
Maybe that's the enigma of the UFO phenomenon. People record the things and you can't ever see them. Just like when people try and record a Bigfoot and it's always blurry. It looks like tree leaves.
Right. Or it's all like, or automatically makes the camera all shaky.
Yeah. Shaky and pixelated.
Yeah. Like I said, I know what I saw, and I'm still like happy I saw it. I told everybody about it, and they're fascinated too. Like I said, the way things are going right now, nobody's surprised anymore about what they see. It's just like, well, those are the things I heard the news talk about, and it's well, as a adult, and then being a kid that always wanted to see this shit. It's like the inner child that gets excited about this shit because you always believe something was out there. At least what's what movies and TV told you.
But as an adult growing up and everything, would you say you were more of a skeptic, or,
Mm,
or were you more open to the fact that there is stuff out there?
I've always been open to it. It's just like reality kind of like sets you back and just kind of everything they tell you is like, well, nah, there's an explanation for everything, just like, the Roswell and all that other shit. And, you watch the news for any tidbits of this stuff, and there's never been anything up until now, to be honest. They're just like, you just get the same. The news is depressing, right? So anything positive is just like in the back of the show, but never has been anything about spaceships and shit because, according to regular media, they think you're fucking crazy. That's why they put random shows on late night TV about this shit. Ancient aliens, fucking, what was the scary one? Unsolved mysteries, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Those always piqued my interest, but I've always been hesitant to ever say that I was a believer just because I don't know what it could be. I'm not going to say aliens are from space.
mm,
I'm not going to say aliens are from another dimension. I'm not going to say aliens are from already here. I'm not going to say they're time travelers because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone really knows unless they're in the unless they have bodies and know for 100% certain what they are. I think anyone like me or you or whoever, unless you're a psyop person and you know all the answers, uh, I don't think anyone has a real idea of what these things actually are.
Mm.
I've
Well,
talked to people before that think that UFOs are just us from the future coming
well,
back in time.
I was gonna say like I wouldn't want to go back to my past. I mean, I'm like, that's embarrassing, especially like if we're that okay, if we're that advanced right in the future, why even bother going back? It's almost like unless it's like one of those things where I always wanted to see a dinosaur, and then you go back in time and check it out. Like, but in the now, in the present, I feel like anybody who's advanced that far is pretty embarrassed of how things are right now. Who would want to see that? Or maybe to them, it's like a field trip into
I don't
history.
see how you could physically go back in time.
Yeah, I don't,
To me, none of that makes sense. Like, how do you go backwards through history and through time? So, if you're able to go back in time, and I actually just mentioned this previously when I was recording another guest, that it's almost like the butterfly effect. If you go back in time and you alter something, maybe not even intentionally, but you ran over a bug or your spaceship flew in and hit a bird. Well, that bird crapped on something that caused poison somewhere and killed this person. That's why we have Mandela effect, because it's like a butterfly effect going on. Like the one thing you did changed everything, even though it was unintentional. You didn't even realize you did it, but it altered stuff. So that's why the Mandela effect exists, because people don't remember what supposedly happened, and we remember something completely different. And now they're telling us that this stuff isn't true. It was this way.
hmm,
It makes me wonder. I was like, well, did we go into a different dimension? Did someone
maybe.
come back and screw up the timeline? Like, what's going on? And it's not like they fixed anything or altered it to where it's like life altering for anyone else for betterment. It's just like, I remember a cornucopia on my damn underwear for Fruit of the Loom, and now they're saying there's no cornucopia. But I remember as a kid having cornucopias on the little
Yeah,
logo
because they
for,
had like those older guys dressed as fucking fruits.
yeah.
I mean, they kind of explained this a little bit in like that Van Damme movie. I watched Time Cop recently, and I was like, well, this is an interesting fucking story. Like, go back in time, and they definitely alter everything that in the favor of a presidential candidate, or maybe it was a senator, something like that. And like, it was an interesting concept, stupid movie, but it's like, holy crap, like, or it could even be like, what was that stupid Marvel movie? If Tony Stark figures out like time travel. I mean, I think like I think they went back, but everything was still the same because all those people like
They went back, but they didn't alter anything. Because they didn't want to change stuff. They just brought everyone back. I think so. It went. I don't remember. I
oh
don't.
yeah, they brought everybody back that like
They
I
brought
think
them back to the present of 5 years past that they were gone. So nothing in this timeline changed since then. Everyone remembers that they were gone.
isn't that
But
weird? Like, yeah, I guess that's pretty traumatizing. Like you were dead for like 5 years, but you're back. But we aged a little more. And wait, did they age too?
no,
I don't
they
know if they
didn't because they were gone.
so they basically wow, they lost 5 years of their life, but yet they didn't age.
There's
Like, and I was sort of alluding to like how media is when they like, you know, movies and shows kind of convey aliens and tell you about how they are, and they're in the Hollywood world. Like I always wonder about like there's theories being thrown around about some of the Marvel movie shit is actually real. It's just like in plain sight kind of thing.
some of it
Just
can be
yeah.
turned into the whole super soldier type experiences that people. I've actually talked to people on here for interviews. They think they went through space and everything, and that's part of the whole super soldier program that they think they've went through.
Mm.
So I don't know. Again, I'm not here to judge or say it's true or not true. I don't know. Didn't
Right.
experience it, but that's could
But
be a
but
very possibility that
or even like the most wild one, which kind of is really interesting how they, you know, in the Black Panther movies, like Africa is like a lot more technology fused than they say. But I think like the conspiracy theory I heard about Africa is it's actually way bigger than they say on a map. And whether or not they're hiding something there, it could be possible because I guess the country is like way bigger than what the map it really is. That's what I heard. I don't
they say
know.
the same thing about Australia, but then there's also people who don't think Australia exists at all. So
Sure. Yeah, that's a yeah. I need to get Australia on here and like ask them like what is going on.
I interviewed a couple people from Australia.
Oh yeah.
In our other show, we've interviewed people from Australia. So if you don't exist, I guess we're just talking to AI.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. It's all that other shit, but like again, you know, I'm just a small peon that saw strange lights in the sky, and again, I have no explanation for what I saw. I just know what I saw, and I had a witness, and it's just like that's my story there, and I would really hope somebody else would see it somewhere and be on the show and explain it, because I, you know, because I always think like, okay, it was a dense fog, so if anything was going by, you would not see anything but lights, you know. I mean, it could be a cover. It could be like the same thing with the weather control. Like, if you're gonna fly a massive ship, let's say, what would you do? How would you disguise? What would be the most practical way to disguise it? I mean, yeah,
And
you probably
clouds.
have, yeah, or well, if maybe you have a less advanced ship, so you can't use the cool cloning technology, but you know, but I also think why would you make yourself present by shooting off lights? So that's another thing. I just like, what the hell did I saw? See,
I've never understood that either when it comes to UFOs. If people are seeing lights on, I said if they have blinking lights, they're not from outer space. I wouldn't think because why would they have blinking lights? That seems to be more of a fucking humanized thing than a
Hmm.
alien thing. You wouldn't think that they're flying through space and like, oh, gotta make sure we got our red and green blinkers going on
Yeah.
there. Got tongue tied for a second.
Right, and it wasn't like again, like it wasn't like it'd be a ship just flying. I don't know what I saw other than bursts of light like exploding, and I don't know what the hell that all meant. You know, like again, there was no sound that should have been there. Like if it was explosions, so it was baffling.
The only thing that people could say would be lightning or something like that. I don't know what else it could possibly
But
be other than just
yeah, but lightning doesn't strike in the that could be feasible, but like the problem is like lightning kind of goes everywhere. This was concentrating on one spot and it kept showing up in one spot the few times it went off. So again, I
just in the
try to
same exact area, basically. It
yeah,
was
like lightning doesn't do that per se, and for it to happen a few times and then stop, because as soon as we left, it stopped doing it.
hmm.
So
Should
I
have
mean,
told him. You should have told him you were going to take a detour and drove towards it.
well, no, I couldn't. I was working and I wanted to make sure he got home or not home, but go to the fucking liquor store.
Hmm.
You know, that's my tip right there. So had, you know, I feel like in, well, I don't know how to say this. Like, I feel like if I wasn't working, I would have fucking went that way. But what are the coincidences? I just happened to be waiting on somebody and it just happened right there.
Like, all right, dude, we're going to hit the liquor store up. We're going to take a little shortcut here and see what this light is first. And maybe they'll have some better liquor for you.
Well, the liquor store was like totally opposite way. So it couldn't, it wouldn't have been feasible. That's what sucks. I had to go north. Yeah, I believe I had to go north to go take him to the liquor store.
Another podcast idea. You had taxi cab confessions. And now you're going to have Uber confessions.
Oh man,
But
I gotta.
you're gonna ask them about the weird stuff that they encounter.
Oh man, there's a Facebook group for that. I've not. I refuse to join it because I don't want to like. It's already interesting, like the job itself, you know. But I just never thought a job like that would make me find not aliens, but strange lights in the sky. So like I said, I think it's a cool coincidence that I just happened to be there at that time and nobody else posted about it. Because again, who the fuck would be outside looking up in that area at like 10, 11 p.m.? Nobody. It's like Friday night. People got other things to do. So, yeah.
One of the many mysteries that'll probably go unsolved. But if anyone out there listening has seen random lights that look like in a fog or misty area and clouds, and they're pulsating in the same area, not moving like lightning would be, reach out to the podcast so we can let Ed know that you saw something similar.
That I'm not alone.
Well, I think we can wrap this one up. So again, want to say thanks to Ed for coming back on here and talking with me.
Yeah, anytime, I guess. I mean, I don't have much to talk about normally as far as those things go, but maybe another time it'll happen.
Maybe one day you'll see a Bigfoot run out. Make sure to run him over.
Well, yeah, that's a fine or legal or something. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
that'll make some audience members probably upset with me that I said that because a lot of people don't want to kill them. I was like, I don't say kill them, but I don't know how anyone else is going to get proof these things exist if someone doesn't have a body. But
Right.
just knock him down and get some photos of him and some video and then run for your life. Get back in the car before he wakes up.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, we're going to roll on out of here. So thanks to Ed. Thanks for listening. Remember, the truth lies in the stories we share, the connections we make. Stay curious, stay open-minded. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. And until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep exploring the unknown. Good night, everyone.